My name is Edward Ornelas. I am the president of the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for being here. I just want to hear a quick round of applause, please, because this is awesome. I haven't seen so many people, and it's been like 2.5 years, and it feels good to be out. Right, Laurence? I want to thank you all for being here. This is our second annual Education and Workforce Summit in partnership with Think Together, who we've been working on with this for the past couple years. Laurence, who's in the back. Laurence is my go-to. He called me one day and said, "Hey, Edward, I have an idea." And I said, "Well, let me hear it." He said, "What do you think about this?" And I said, "Well, let's do it." So here we are. We're doing it for the second time. So again, thank you all for being here. I'd like to introduce our sponsor for this evening, Ms. Bunsry with Bank of America. She is thank you. Bunsry is great. She's a big supporter of what I do at the Regional Chamber. I consider her a friend because she always asks about my family. And when you ask about the family, I feel like you're a friend. So thank you, Bunsry. Bunsry is the Inland Empire president for Bank of America. And I'll give it to Bunsry now.
Thank you, Edward. And thank you all. Truly, this is wonderful to see. So welcome, everyone. Oh, see, I was practicing earlier. So good afternoon. My name is Bunsry Parikh, and I have the honor of being the president of Bank of America for the Inland Empire. I'm joined today by several of our teammates, as well as Kathy Paredes, our wonderful market executive, who a lot of you know. And we are thrilled to once again be the sponsor of the second annual Inland Empire Workforce and Education Summit. So yesterday was International Women's Day. Exactly. And March is Women's History Month. So when I thought about what I wanted to talk with you all today, regarding workforce, jobs, and the drivers of success, I immediately thought of the woman who is my inspiration every day and who taught me the value of hard work, my mom. When we came here to America in 1980 with $30 in my dad's pocket, she did absolutely anything that she needed to do for our family to thrive. Even though my mom was a college-educated woman, no job was too small nor too big for her. She was a flyer stuffer at the Penny Saver, for all of you who remember the Penny Saver. Yeah. She worked the graveyard shift at a nursing home so that she could be home with me during the day. She did piecework for a penny a piece. And then, in her 50s, she started a business, which she still runs today. So I am so proud of her and feel fortunate, so fortunate, to call her my inspiration and my mom. And I tell you this as the daughter of those women before me on whose shoulders I stand, and as a mother of 2 daughters. It is so very important to me that we come together as a community to not only educate, but also provide other pathways of success for our children. My mom never leveraged her college degree for a career in that field, but she sure did work hard every day and learn in other fields in which she found success. She also used all of that learning to start a business and to become an entrepreneur. So as a leader of Bank of America in the Inland Empire, leading our over 1,200 teammates, this is important to my team and I in so many ways. And it's a strong focus area for the work that we do to support our mighty Inland Empire. We see that the demand is robust for a diverse talent pipeline. So we work with local nonprofits, many of you are here. We work with other employers, and broader networks across the country to support the skills training needed to meet this demand. Mastery of a trade or job skill can have as significant an impact on lifetime earnings as a college degree. Yet, according to the most recent Bureau of Labor Statistics information, almost 45% of our workforce is defined as low or underskilled. Drilling into the data reveals a more complex social picture. Black and Hispanic Latino people make up a clear majority of the underskilled workforce, which disparity has been further compounded by the coronavirus. Despite this, McKinsey recently reported that some 30 million underskilled workers could increase their income by as much as 70% if they receive skill or education accreditation. We know we need to increase the number of quality jobs available in our region so we can keep that future workforce in the mighty Inland Empire. So in order to support that, in 2020, Riverside City College and Bank of America announced a $1 million jobs initiative partnership to help students of color successfully complete the education and training necessary to enter the workforce and embark on their path to success in Southern California. We also, in 2021, provided $565,000 in grants to Inland Empire nonprofits who are connecting individuals to skills and employment in the region. And this initiative is part of the bank's recent $1.25 billion 5-year initiative and commitment to advance racial equality and economic opportunity. And that includes a $25 million commitment specifically to enhance upskilling and reskilling for Black and Hispanic Latino individuals. So not only are we supporting our educational institutions and our nonprofit partners, we believe that achieving strong operating results the right way starts with our teammates. And we work to reflect the diversity of the clients and communities we serve. In the Inland Empire, 66% of our workforce are women, and 79% are people of color, further reflecting the diversity of our community. I'm proud to be one of those women and person of color. Almost done, guys. To support that workforce, we are committed to being a great place to work, which means investing in the people who serve our clients. That includes providing strong pay, competitive benefits, and I'm proud to say that Bank of America will raise its U.S. monthly minimum hourly wage to $25 by 2025. And we're well on our way, because in 2021, we raised it to $21 an hour. Yeah. So thank you all for being here today at this very, very important event. And thank you to Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce and Think Together for today's event. I look forward to hearing our panel today as they discuss how to prepare our children with the necessary academic, technical, and soft skills needed to succeed in our economy. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, Bansri, I'm sorry. Next, I want to introduce a little video clip that we're going to play from Think Together. So please direct your eyeballs to the screen. Thank you.
I'm Laurence Gustoson, Senior Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations for Think Together. Our workforce readiness programs are built on private partnerships with businesses in the Inland Empire. Through these partnerships, students learn how to interview and apply for jobs, and learn how to collaborate and lead teams. Students also receive exposure to real-world opportunities through internships with leading companies.
I'm Gloria Alday. I am the Director of Older Youth Programs for Think Together. In collaboration with school and community partners, we support students in actively exploring college and career pathways. One of the focuses of our older youth programs is heavily on workforce readiness. So whether that's exposure through career fairs, mentoring, bringing in career panels for students, work-based learning and internship opportunities are all critical experiences that help provide needed context for students when considering what is possible for their lives. Our workforce readiness and education programs help students develop employability skills via interview practices, mock applications, resume building, professionalism trainings, and internships, really preparing students for what they can anticipate once they start in the workforce.
But I would say the Think Together programs offer really top tier quality in terms of the resources that they give you. I remember during my time in high school, we had resume workshops. We were able to get our food handler's card to work in the fast food industries while being a high school student. And so having those opportunities to sort of build your knowledge, build your professional experience, and also your experience in the workplace, I find is really neat. And I talk to friends who don't have Think Together programs at their high school, and I noticed how much further along we are in our professional journey, besides our academics, that Think Together has been able to bring into these Title I high schools, which probably needed the most in these underrepresented communities.
I started as an office worker, and joining Think Together also helped me gain experience on how work, office, peer tutoring, and other jobs may work like.
Felt like I was more prepared and I knew what to look forward to. I also feel more professional in a way because now I know that, okay, when I want to apply here, I am willing to give a professional resume.
With Hack Club, I'm currently like a pod lead. So personally, I'm overseeing the expansion of Hack Club in 3 different school sites across the Think Together network. And so then from there, I kind of gain leadership experience and then also just general workplace experience that would be pretty crucial moving forward, like having the knowledge of how to write meeting minutes or to write formal emails to plan out meetings, and just getting all that experience.
Our community and business partners are critical to the success of this program. They serve as mentors, as funders, and eventually potential employers for our students.
We are so grateful for our partnership with the Inland Empire Regional Chamber of Commerce, our sponsor, Bank of America, as well as local partners such as Kaiser Permanente, State Farm, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, and Southern California Edison. These partnerships help Think Together staff invest in the youth in our communities to prepare them for college and career opportunities, and together build the workforce of tomorrow.
Awesome. Round of applause for Think Together. Thank you. Before we begin with our keynote, I can't resist. I have to do it. I want to give a special shout out to our volunteers who helped us at the check-in table. One of them is my daughter, Kylie. Kylie Ornelas, please stand up. And Sam, Etowanda High School student, please stand up. These are our young professionals. And Hannah in the back over there. Thank you, Hannah. For our keynote, it is an honor for me to introduce the California State Treasurer, Ms. Fiona Ma. She will be discussing the state of workforce readiness in California, how the state is supporting college and career readiness from early learning to high school. Let's welcome California State Treasurer Fiona Ma.
Thank you, Edward, for inviting me. I met Edward not too long ago, but Mayor Aquanetta Warren from Fontana said, "You need to meet Edward. He's doing incredible things. They are progressive and they are active and they're having amazing events where people are excited to come." During the pandemic, we've done about 300 Zoom webinars, mostly to small business owners. I got into public service representing the Asian Business Association. My parents were born in China, so I'm first generation here. They wanted us to be one of the lead professions, a lawyer, engineer, accountant, or a doctor. I was good at math, so my parents said be an accountant. And like the dutiful oldest child, I got my bachelor's in accounting, and I worked for one of the big 8 accounting firms. That's how old I am. But then after 5 years, decided to leave and start my own practice at the age of 28 years old. Someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, if you want to get clients quickly, you should be president of the Asian Business Association. And that was the first time I ever got involved in politics. Going down to City Hall, Sacramento, DC, lobbying for more business opportunities for women and minority businesses. And I learned how difficult it is to navigate the bureaucracies. And like Angelo and some of the superintendents that I talked to here, we want to get things done. We don't want to create barriers, right? We want to open up access, make it easy for people, not make them jump through hoops. And so that's why I appreciate Edward being here and his leadership and doing these type of collaborations, because it does take a public-private partnership to really effectively make things happen in the state of California. So, this is my 4th elected position. I am now your state treasurer. That means your banker. So all the money comes into my office. Last year, it was $3.2 trillion. And if my office was not open, about 100 of us working every single day, none of the money would have gotten out to the rest of the state. So I thank my hardworking treasurer's office for their dedication. I also manage a short-term portfolio of about $207 billion, and that includes a portfolio for 22 local government units. So all of the cities here and the counties, most of them in the state, we manage their short-term investments. And I also manage about an $80 billion bond fund. So I sell all of the bonds for the state of California, as well as UC and the CSU systems. Thanks to Jess Unruh, when he was treasurer, he also said, hey, look at the treasurer's office. They have trillions and billions of dollars. We should be doing more. So today I chair boards, commissions, and authorities that oversee the affordable housing tax credits for affordable housing, for public transportation, for schools, for hospitals, green energy, advanced manufacturing. So anything, anybody here in this room that needs money, please let me know. And so unlike my prior job where I was on the State Board of Equalization, your friendly tax collector, nobody wanted to call me, and when they did, they were really embarrassed to call me. This job is much better because everybody's calling me about something. They want, a new, rail system. They want a parking lot. They want movie studios, right, Colleen? And so it is just a great job to be state treasurer, especially when we have money, right? And this year, we're expecting another $36 billion in surplus. So what does that mean? It means for all of the educators here in the room, 50% of our general fund goes to K through 14 education. So although we fund all of the educators, educational programs here, it is really up to you at the local level. You all administer and control your own funds, and I know it has been difficult during COVID, especially with students and enrollment and distance learning, but I know that you all are getting through it. We're all pivoting together to make sure that our youth, our young people, are getting all the help and assistance and resources that they need. So I want to talk about a couple things that my office is doing that you all will probably be excited about. This governor, Governor Gavin Newsom, and the legislature, led by Speaker Pro Tem Tony Atkins in the Senate, as well as Speaker Anthony Rendon, they are doubling down on our young people and combating childhood poverty. We have allocated about $1.9 billion to a new program called Cal Kids. And many of you are probably going to see letters, or your parents, your constituents are going to see letters coming in their mailbox saying, hey, newborn parent, your newborn, we're going to give you $25 into your child's account. And if they open up a ScholarShare 529 and link their salary each paycheck, they could get up to $100 for every newborn starting this summer. In addition, there's more. In addition, for every 1st through 12th grader that goes to a public school that is on a free and reduced lunch, they will get $500 into a ScholarShare 529 account. If they are homeless, they will get another $500, and if they are in foster care, they will get another $500. So that's $1,500 potentially that these kids can get. And many people, you get a lot of mail, they're probably gonna throw it out, or they'll call you and say, is this real or is this a scam? So yes, it is real. And I chair 3 savings programs, ScholarShare 529. How many of you know about 529? Yes? Well, we are trying to partner with more school districts, local governments, county governments, unions, all sorts of trade associations to spread the word to your members, right? If you save $100 every month for 18 years, that $100 could be $65,000 by the time a young person goes to college. And that goes a long way to keeping our young people out of student loan debt. So please partner with us, help us spread the word. If you put it aside, you forget it, you don't spend it, but that money grows, and that program is administered by my office. We also have 2 more savings programs. A new one is called CalAble. If you were born with a disability before the age of 26 years old, you can now open up an account in that person's name and save up to $15,000 without jeopardizing other life and safety benefits, right? A couple years ago, many years ago, if you had a child that was disabled and you wanted to leave them money or an investment account or a home, people would say you cannot do that because now they're going to get kicked off of all of their other Social Security and Medicare and Medi-Cal, but now they can save up to $15,000, and it is a game changer. More and more parents are putting more money into ScholarShare, into CalAble than ever before, even during the pandemic. So we're very, very proud of our parents and adults thinking about the next generation. Cal Savers is also a new program. If you work for a company that does not provide a retirement savings account and you employ 5 or more individuals, you can, or you have to, sign up your employees with Cal Savers, and we will manage their account for them. That is the end of your liability. You will have no more fiscal or legal liability. These accounts will stay with your employers. If they leave, if they go part-time, if they retire, quit, move, it will stay with their account. And we are really trying to ensure that people retire in dignity and respect. So, in addition, I've got a couple more things, and then I will turn it over. California School Finance Authority. How many of you know the California School Finance Authority? We have been around since 1985, and we provide working capital for charter schools. As you know, many of the charter schools, they get operating money, but they don't get money for physical buildings, improvements, and they come to our CSFA for tax-exempt bond financing. The largest one we've done in the state is to River Springs Charter School, as many of you know here. And one of the programs is the Flaybob Airport Prep Academy, where they are teaching aviation and aeronautics to their young people. And we've given 2 bonds to them in 2015 and 2017. And then we also oversee a charter school revolving loan fund, where we have funded 9 charter schools in Riverside County, $2.1 million, most recently to Sycamore Academy of Science and Cultural Arts in Chino Valley. So again, schools, charter schools, if you need money, come see me. We also got into the business of trying, or not trying, but we actually did, we issued $68 million to the Santa Rosa Community College to build student housing on their site. This is going to help 352 community college students live on campus. And we've heard, especially during the pandemic, that many students are living in their cars or couch surfing. Hopefully, this will provide some stability for these students who want to go to community college. And as you know, the first 2 years of community college for any first-time new student is free now in the state of California. So I always tell parents, if you don't know, your child doesn't know what they want to do, don't waste money. Send them to community schools, save some money, let them prove themselves, and then transfer to another school, and hopefully you'll have enough money through your scholarship 529 to make sure that they don't have student loan debt, right? That's what it's all about. I also chair CEFA, the California Educational Finance Authority, and we provide funding for private higher education colleges and universities. So 2 of the schools that we have assisted is Loma Linda University. We've issued 2 bonds totaling $178 million, and also the University of the Redlands. We've issued 10 bonds totaling $194.2 million over the years. So private colleges and universities, also come see me. And we also oversee the College Access Tax Credit Fund. This is for the Cal Grants. How many of you have had a Cal Grant or know pushing Cal Grants, right? Well, it's a little known program that people can donate to this fund and take a tax deduction that can help students. And we don't push it enough because there's no one really saying, hey, donate to this fund and help more students access the Cal Grant program. And then finally, because I never got involved in politics growing up, my parents would say, no, you can play sports, you can go play an instrument, but don't run for student council. I now have had 1,200 interns come through my different offices in 20 years. I'm kind of brainwashing them. Their parents send them to me because they want a letter, right? But I try to convince them that, number one, public service is an honorable profession. You may not make a lot of money, but every day you are doing good. And so for us, some of us who, are living every day because we are able to help people in a very direct way, I want more young people to give back. That it's not all about money in life, but it's about leaving this world a better place. Last week, I was able to meet with Edward and some of his board members, and I just want to give a shout out to Eddie back there. Eddie Sumar. It was kind of a late meeting, and I was a little bit tired. And Eddie's energy, he was just like, we're doing this, and this stands for that, and I've got all these, programs and ideas, and I want to write a book and a curriculum, and I want to expand. And I was like, wow, Eddie, I want to join you. So I am now on the advisory board for I'm not busy enough, okay? But I am now on the advisory board for his Financial Odyssey Advisory Council to help the Otis Academy with financial literacy for our next generation. We need to teach our young people how to manage money, how to accumulate wealth. And I try to tell young people, don't let anyone control your money. You need to have your own bank accounts. You need to have your own credit card. Don't let anybody control that, because once they do, they start controlling the rest of your life. So thank you all for being here. I look forward to hearing the panel, and thank you, Eddie, and your chamber for all you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I want to put a face to Eddie. If you all don't know who Eddie is, You're going to find out. Eddie, stand up real quick. Eddie is my muscle and bodyguard. Me and Eddie have been working together for the past, 7 or 8 months, and we've accomplished what regular people would accomplish in 5 years because we both work very, very fast. So I want to thank you for your leadership and your guidance and your advice that you give me. So thank you, Eddie. I appreciate you. Next up, I want to welcome Dr. Angelo Farooq. Dr. Angelo Farooq is the chair of the California Workforce Development Board. Mr. Angelo Farooq.
Thank you, Edward. It's a pleasure to be here. Before I begin, I just appreciate if we could just take a very, very brief moment of silence for Ukraine and all of the devastation that's happening across the world. Thank you, guys. So it's a pleasure to be here. It's great to just see everybody, right? I mean, it hasn't been too long that we've had a chance for all of us to start getting together back in person. And the other thing I want to also begin by just saying is just how I never want to follow one of my mentors, Fiona Ma, when she's speaking. And, one thing I want to say about her is, one, I'm very grateful for her mentorship and all of the support that she's provided me. But I'll tell you, not only is she somebody, as you guys can tell by just what she shared, somebody who's just completely focused on delivering outcomes and real tangible impact, right, as a true public servant for California, but she is one of the few people I've ever come across in my involvement in state politics that really, truly cares about this region specifically. You will see Fiona Ma in the Inland Empire for different things, and you'll see tangible things that she's delivering for this region on many occasions. And so let's please give another round of applause for our great California treasure. Thank you. So I want to start by also just giving some context for those of you that don't know about the California Workforce Development Board. It's an honor for me to serve on behalf of Governor Gavin Newsom and the administration. The California Workforce Development Board governs all federal workforce funds for California. These positions are established by Congress based on the legislation called that we refer to as WIOA, Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act. And beyond the responsibility from the governance side, it's also important that we develop a common policy framework of the overall $6 billion, which now it's substantially more with the very generous and thoughtful investments that Governor Newsom and the legislature are providing in the workforce system for our state. But the important thing is that it's that framework, because when we think of the workforce system, it's very fragmented, right? There's the community college system, there's the American Job Centers, there's a lot of different aspects, and it's important that we think from a unified strategic perspective. And so I'm very proud of the great dedication and the staff, and I know we have people here from our local Riverside and San Bernardino County that are doing a great job. There's over 200 America Job Centers throughout the state. These are physical places where people can go to get assistance, whether it's identifying job training needs or getting assistance with resumes, interview skills, whatever you need to be able to get a job. The other thing that is important is that we actually provide services for businesses, employers, on the job training, which, just as an example, allows employers to be able to have wages subsidized up to 50% for up to 6 months for if you're able to train those employees that you're bringing on while they're working, which is important. And again, it's subject to availability of funds. We obviously want to encourage career pathways and these funds being dispersed in jobs that have livable wages and provide real pathways to people. So obviously those aspects are important. The Workforce Board itself, we're really focused generally, like I said, from a policy standpoint, but in the last, especially during Governor Newsom's administration, we've actually really become directly administering very substantial amount of programs and investments. So our signature program that most people know us for is the High Road Training Partnerships. And otherwise, about 85% of the funds that come through the state and from the federal government are actually given at the local level. And so we have 45 local boards, typically at the county supervisor level, that are appointed, but some large cities like Los Angeles have it at the city level as well. But of the money that's discretionary, we all have really made it a point to invest in what we refer to as the high road training partnerships. And so what this has to do with is, and I think it's very relevant, especially given the pandemic and what we're facing here, but what it has to do with is, one, we really try to focus on job quality and on-demand pathways for, especially for industries that have been hit hard, like hospitality was hit hard. There was a variety of different sectors, healthcare, there were shortages throughout the pandemic. We've tried to form rapid responses that are sector-based in partnership with, on a regional basis with key industries. And so the High Road Training Partnerships is a reflection of that. But also, the High Road Training Partnerships is a focus for us about our other aspirational ideals and goals from the administration, which includes climate change. We're focusing on transitioning our economy to a carbon neutral economy, and that has workforce implications. That means that there's going to be, potentially workers impacted with these transitions. And what are we doing to provide support for them and help make sure that not only are they taken care of through these transitions, but that they have at a minimum the same quality of job opportunities, if not better, both here and moving forward. So those are some of the key qualities regarding our high road training partnerships. But again, we're really focused on expanding those broadly. I will say also that prior to this administration, Governor Gavin Newsom, the Inland Empire had never even received $1 of these high road training investments, which are very important. And I'm very proud to say that with the support of Governor Newsom, not only has the Inland Empire been getting substantial investments, but we've been disproportionately getting them as well. And that extends to Inland California, our friends and colleagues in the Central Valley. And we're unapologetically, as someone who's proudly born and raised here in the Inland Empire, an advocate for Inland California from a standpoint of equity. And the governor, his theme of California for all encapsulates this perspective, right? And when he refers to that, it's really, I think, speaks most strongly to us here in the Inland Empire and the kinds of challenges we face to be heard and represented. So the Inland Empire, in our last round of high road training investments, we funded logistics, a partnership with Teamsters, Inland Empire Labor Council, and it's actually in San Bernardino, and I know our city manager is here. But it's a regional effort, and it's about the electrification, converting transportation to electrification, and the quality jobs component that are associated with that. So that's an important investment. We're actually now in the process of looking at expanding even additional rounds of investment in that same space. Another key area, and we've been doing this statewide, is high road construction careers, and that has to do with transportation infrastructure. So some of you might have heard of SB 1. It's infamously known as the gas tax, which I know is not very, it's a little bit of a sensitive topic right now. But it was a legislation that passed several years ago, but a component of that is on job training. And so that money comes to our workforce system. We provide apprenticeships and training partnerships statewide by region. And so for Inland Empire, that is being administered through the San Bernardino Community College District, but again, it's a 2-county regional effort. And the building trades of the San Bernardino Riverside counties are actually jointly partners of that, and it's their curriculum that are driving those opportunities. So again, key transportation infrastructure opportunities, that's been another area of emphasis. The third area of high road training investments that we've done, and again, all of this just in this administration, is regarding water career pathways. So we all know that there's a huge crisis with drought and water supply issues, but from a workforce standpoint, these are some of the best quality jobs people can have. But it's unfortunately very common that you don't see the type of diversity that should be pursued and realized. And so we have a partnership with West Valley Water District, Western Municipal Water District, and others on career pathways in the water space. I'm going to speak to a few key high-level investments that our administration is doing, just so you have some sense of the priorities and how things are coming down right now, just some tangible things. I do want to just put the disclaimer that for some of these things, it's subject to the typical budgetary process, meaning that you still have to go through the May revise and the legislative process as well. But some of these things are happening right now. So $45 million for high road construction careers, and that includes community colleges and the SB1, like I mentioned, transportation infrastructure. We're going to start releasing the next round of those funds in May of this year. And then we have very substantial investments in healthcare. In healthcare, we have partnerships of $340 million planned for training and career advancement programs and strategies. And where, again, our focus is from a standpoint of equity, of addressing the people that have the highest barriers to employment. Those are our priority populations, and having, again, family-sustaining careers. We also have $90 million for employment training panel to support job entry, career advancement for workers in health and human services. It's overall over $500 million over the next 3 years. We have $60 million for workforce service branch on areas related to emergency medical technicians. $60 million for the low carbon economy that I alluded to earlier. $15 million for capping orphan oil wells. Two areas of particular emphasis is one is the immigrant workforce. So $30 million to accelerate integrated education and training for English language learners that are not currently in the workforce. $20 million under the employment training panel for employers to build skilled workforces, increase employee retention. Again, we have incumbent worker training opportunities too for people who already are employed but want to have better pathways. And $10 million to support career pathways for community college students, including immigrant youth and youth of color, through the California Youth Leadership Corps. And then lastly, the climate justice. Even though this project I'm going to mention is based out of Los Angeles, it's going to be very relevant here, which is the $110 million Goods Movement Training Campus at the Port of Los Angeles. And so our new Secretary of Labor, Natalie Pelugii, and I had a chance to meet with them on there, and we know that this is going to have a broader impact on the ecosystem for all of Southern California, especially the Inland Empire. And $50 million to address oil and gas workers that are facing displacement. And so those are kind of the high-level areas of where we are putting priorities and investments. The overall last message I just want to say, and I kind of spoke a little bit about this at last year's summit, is really just a kind of a call to action regarding our youth specifically. So, I am a school board member, and so maybe I'm speaking a little bit more from that heart of this, but we know, whether it's statistically or common sense, that our young people are disproportionately likely to suffer long-term negative impacts that don't just extend economically, but social and emotional for those that lose their jobs during a recession. Youth are disproportionately, impacted by that, and youth unemployment is disproportionately high. And you don't have, even whether you have children that are in school system or not, you guys know, again, just anecdotally and through following the media, that there's a real crisis happening throughout our country. And one of the biggest aspects related to the pandemic, when we talk about remote learning or we talk about the different restrictions for very good safety reasons, obviously, related to young people, is the huge decline in internship and workplace opportunities. And that's very significant on many levels, because as somebody, I grew up in poverty. I was a qualified freelance student, and I had to work at a truck stop when I was in high school. I know that those direct experiences from a soft skill standpoint, from a discipline standpoint, they also do translate back into the classroom, back into the academic side of it. And so this has a cascading effect on many levels. And the call to action that I would say to all of you, and I think, again, these convenings are important, and the people here in this space have an extraordinary capacity to make a tangible impact in this regard. But it's critical that we start coordinating more from a practical, project-based, collaborative-based, real tangible initiatives that we can do amongst ourselves. I can speak to some of the high-level investments that we're doing, and the Treasurer Ma and others, but it's how we coordinate these things. You know, you heard from Bansri about the great work Bank of America is doing. How can we be matching our funds, leveraging them, and the interconnectivity amongst all of us? At the end of the day, that's what's really going to drive the conversation. That's what our young people need. And no matter what people try to do in a vacuum, whether it's the workforce system, the education system, unless the business community and the broader community really engage at a level that has never been done before, our young people are just not going to get those opportunities. And so I really impress upon that. I know all of our heart is there, and I'm honored, again, to have the opportunity to collaborate and be a part of that with all of you. But again, very grateful for the opportunity to be here and looking forward to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelo. Appreciate it. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, who will be the facilitator for the panel, Ms. Kathy Paredes. She is the Vice President of Community Relations for Bank of America. Welcome, Kathy.
Wonderful. So grateful to be with you all today. It's an honor and a pleasure to see all of these great resources in one room. And I'm excited to introduce the panel, we all know them. We all know them very well. They're great champions of our Inland Empire region. And again, we're just grateful to have them with us today. So I'd like to bring up Dr. Farooq, Angela Farooq. He's our first panelist. He's the chair of the California Workforce Development Board. We have County Superintendent of San Bernardino Schools, Ted Alejandre. Thank you for joining us. We have Dr. Ruth Perez, Deputy Superintendent of Schools at Riverside County Office of Education. Welcome. And joining us as well as one of our sponsors of this great event today, Randy Barth, founder and CEO of Think Together. So thank you all again, and I really appreciate you joining us today to have this such an important discussion about workforce and our youth. And just so we know who's in the audience, for those who are representing a nonprofit, can you raise your hand? Wonderful. Our business community, our business owners, entrepreneurs, employers, wonderful. Government, folks associated with government, and academia. So isn't this just a wonderful, diverse group who are so invested in our youth and the future of workforce? So again, appreciate you joining us, and we want to be able to give you some ideas, some tools that you all can bring back to support what you are doing on the ground. As Angela was mentioning, we really all need to work together to work, to help address our students and their needs and learn about what we can do better to address what's happening in our region. So first question that I'm going to ask is, again, it's all COVID, right? I mean, we all dusted off our suits today, and I'm wearing some shoes that I'm going to regret later, but we're here, right? We're here, we're in person. Again, thank you, Think Together, and Edward for bringing us here. But again, COVID has had such an impact for our students and the economy. So how does the community work together to rebuild and support the regrowth of the economy from the business sector perspective and the education sector? So Randy, I'll go ahead and start with you, and then we'll go down the line.
Sure. Well, thank you, Kathy. I think I don't know who mentioned it in their comments, but the social emotional learning, I mean, our kids have really tough. I mean, one of the things that's really unfortunate with all of the shifts in school and COVID and masks and distance learning and all that other stuff, school attendance is only about 75% of normal. So kids are not in school, they're not as engaged. I was talking about this problem with one of my colleagues, actually in Sacramento, advocate. She said her own high school daughter got a letter. She got a letter behalf of her daughter, chronic absenteeism. And this is somebody in education, father's a county supervisor, so I mean, this has been tough on kids. And so I think re-engaging kids and meeting them where they are, and then opening doors to opportunities. So back in school, in the community, internships. I know, it's not been easy because of just the nature of business and COVID, but there are folks, I know like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, I was on a call with them the other day, they've moved their mentoring model to Zoom, and they're having more connections than they've ever had. So, and we've all seen, there's downsides of this stuff, but there's also been upsides. There's things that we've learned. And so engaging technology and figuring out ways to do that, to engage our kids emotionally so that they can then lean in and take advantage of some of these other opportunities. Because if they're in a shell and by themselves and checked out, they're not in the right place.
Ruth?
I don't think that we have yet seen or know the long-term effects that COVID has really had on our students, our families, and even the workforce. We don't have enough data to really yet realize the impact that this has had. And we have to recognize that there are long-term effects as well as short-term effects. We know that the industry that involves restaurants, casinos, the hospitality industry, which, as you know, in Riverside, Palm Springs, Coachella Valley, has been heavily impacted by this. And a lot of entry-level workers lost their jobs because of that or were financially
and they have
impacted.
Children in school.
Yes. And then in addition to that, here we are evolving where those who were not impacted are coming back into a quote-unquote normalcy of life where they want to tap into that industry again, the comforts of, restaurants and et cetera. And now we have a labor shortage. And businesses are now competing for staffing in these specific areas. So that is a problem that has to be acknowledged. But I think in education and our commitment is that because we don't know yet the long-term effects, we really have to pay close attention to the workforce data, what the industry is saying, what the needs of the industry are, in order to inform what we are offering and training students for. So we continue to train our students, with in CTE courses. We provide curriculum and instruction that will continue to help them recover some of the the soft skills that they need in order to be successful in the workplace. But more than ever, I think we have to look at the data, and what the data of industry is telling us are the needs in our own areas and regions so that we can appropriately just prepare our students for that.
Thank you. And Ted?
This started 2 years. When this started 2 years ago, I think a lot of us thought it was going to be a couple of weeks.
Yes,
Schools were in
yes,
spring break, and we
yes.
never, ever thought it'd be a year, 2 years. So the impact, I agree 100%, has been incredible. Today I was out in the high desert listening to students because we have a county-wide student advisory group. About 400 kids pre-COVID. Right now it's a little bit less because of the building restrictions. But we asked them to give their recommendations on how we can address our community vital signs, regarding health, safety, jobs for the future, and education. And one of the groups talked about the impact of the pandemic. And they said, I don't think people realize just how much it's been impacting me and my family, my teachers. They brought up their teachers because when they were working remotely through distance learning, they could see it in the eyes and the faces of people that were involved. And they said, we really have to look at the whole child. As mentioned, social emotional needs are really important. We're thankful that the state has given dollars and given discretionary guidance to school boards to really use it for the best interest of every student. A lot of it in the social emotional range. And so as we really look at what their needs are, how can we get them engaged in learning? Extended learning is incredibly important. So when you have kids after school for 3 hours, this summer, lessons, modules, activities are planned to engage students. Think together, I look at them as a model for the kinds of individuals you need working with young people because they really have the characteristics to connect with students. The diversity of the group really has that approach in working with all students. So as we really start to engage with our students and see what they need, they're going to get excited, they're going to get motivated. But it has to be engaging, it has to be of their interest, and we have to look at their whole being to make sure we address all those needs.
Angelo?
Well, so I really think the social dynamic, the social emotional aspect is really important. So we really think, whether it's the big brothers, big sisters, whether mentorship is an important opportunity to engage with our young people. But I also think just art, music, these extracurricular activities, they're more important now than ever before, not just for our young people to interact with each other, but again, with respect to the interface with community opportunities and mentorship.
That's a wonderful point. We have a wealth of art here and culture and festivals. And, I know sometimes we talk to our employees and they're like, oh, I go to Orange County for this and I go to San Diego for that. I go, stay here. We have, amazing art and culture organizations. I know Cal State San Bernardino has a wonderful museum. I mean, we have things here. So let's make sure that we're exposing young people and also supporting the arts so that arts are able to go out into the schools, out into the community to connect, right, and engage with those students because they need that. They need that extra attention. So what is taking place to educate local businesses on the impact COVID has had in the current high school youth workforce? This is connecting now with our workforce, employers. What are we doing to educate Bank of America, US Bank, other employers that are here about how things have changed with our youth in that connection? And maybe Angela, I'll start with you.
Sure. I think, for example, these types of convenings are really important. And I just think it's meeting people where they're at. I think we just need to be much more proactive. Okay, sorry about that. So I think we need to really be more proactive on meeting people where they're at, because whether it's at your churches, whether it's at your nonprofit community centers, the workforce can be a convener. K-12 is an important component of that as well with our youth opportunity centers. We really need to go beyond the classrooms and beyond our physical sites to connecting with people there and following up on those engagements.
And we definitely have to have partnerships and communicate with our business leaders. I have three regional advisory groups that consist of business leaders across the West End, the High Desert, and the East Valley. And we ask them, what are your thoughts? What are your ideas in addressing these issues? We talked about the impact of COVID. How can we engage students? And where there's partnerships and they can help us, they want to help us. For example, we started a partnership with Garner Holt Animatronics. And if many of you know, out in Redlands, and we did a boot camp, 3-day boot camp with students, and they get these kits with this bird and these animatronic modules to control the movement, to control the sound, to do the art that designs the bird. And the impact of that with students engaging, it's not really, we can't think about periods in a classroom as being 50-minute social studies. We got to think about system designs and how we can really get kids engaged to where they're going to learn so much in a 30-minute block that maybe would have taken 8 different periods because of the design of the lesson and how they're engaged. And we can do project-based learning, hands-on learning, tie it to industry that they know they have futures of. They're going to get excited and engaged. So businesses are critical to that effort because they can offer that support.
So to add to Ted's comments, the advisory boards play such a huge role in informing us of what it is that's needed in the workforce industry, but how wonderful that we're listening to students as well, that we have advisory boards made up of students who can tell us what the needs are. We are still preparing our students for the jobs of the future. And the jobs of the future have made a significant change in the last 2 years, as you know. There are jobs that have taken off that were not there like 2 years ago or were not as important as they were 2 years ago. So more than ever, the participation, the wisdom, the knowledge, the voice of our business partners to inform our career technical education programs is very important that we have your voice so that then we can respond to that and prepare our students for those specific jobs of the future.
Well, I would echo everything that was said, but one additional thing, sometimes we look in the mirror. We're always trying to build relations with business, and we're very much, believe in the partnerships and public-private partnerships. And we thought, we're a big business ourselves. We have over 3,000 employees. We do all the stuff. And so we created internships in our own house, both tutoring, having high school kids tutor younger kids, but we have office jobs. We're like any other business. We have HR, and we have marketing, and we have accounting, and we have office jobs just like everybody else. And so you saw a little bit of that in the video, and helping to train kids to do applications and things like that. And Fiona talked about creating internships in her office. And I think one of the things we talk about business, but also the public sector, in most communities in America, the school district is the biggest employer in town. And people don't think about it that way. But collectively, K-12 education is 12% of GDP. It's the second largest sector of the economy next to healthcare. And so look at ourselves too and think about ways we can utilize young people in our own operations more creatively and help to fill some of these gaps and create opportunities for our kids.
Those are wonderful points, Randy, and I'll also mention that, at Bank of America, we do have a high school internship program. I know many nonprofits in the area have benefited by these amazing young people, but
including us.
Yeah, including Think Together. But we are again, you have to get creative. So we are a financial institution. We have a lot of very private information. We can't just have anybody come in and file things. So we've actually paid for that intern to work at a nonprofit. Yeah. So they get the skills, they get the opportunity to engage, they get to, and also ultimately. And we hope to get them into a career in nonprofits because it's a wonderful career. I think we have over 12,000 nonprofits in the Inland Empire. You mentioned you have 3,000 employees. This is an opportunity to, again, get that future workforce because, as we look at our nonprofit leaders and myself, I'm not getting any younger. And we need to be able to get that pipeline to take over, what we're doing and continue to support the region. So that those internships are a wonderful way to get our young people engaged and teach them, different job skills. So it's very exciting and definitely want to encourage others who are able to do that to participate as well. So a lot of you mentioned advisory councils. These are, how does someone get into an advisory council? Is there an election process? Just curious, because I'm sure this has probably ignited some interest in the audience. But how are you all? How does that work with each of your organizations?
Well, I'll start off. We have the Alliance for the Education, and it's led by Dr. Houston, Dr. Shima in our office, and they've been incredible at reaching out to industry partners. We talked about talking to business. Let our businesses talk to our students through industry chats, through getting them into the classroom, and that's where technology has been a benefit. We've learned how to use technology so much smarter and better, so they don't have to leave their business, come in physically to the classroom. They can connect right there to a high school class and talk about their business and what's the most important skill that the student needs to get into that industry level. So the Alliance, but it has to be connected to other groups that have already established. So collective impact is hugely important so we don't become redundant and inefficient in how we leverage our services. Got to leverage and work with each other. In the high desert, we have the mountain career desert pathways, and so working with the industries out in the desert, it's a little bit different than the valley because there's mining, there's General Atomics, there's other industries that's not in other areas of the county, but how can we work together as a county, including Riverside, so that we're all connected to the same purpose? And that makes a big difference so we don't become redundant in, again, how we deliver our services.
That's a great comment. Thank you for sharing that. So again, some of you mentioned CTE and work for I know Ruth, you mentioned that. So, and you mentioned, being able to connect with businesses to find out what's happening. But what really are you hearing in terms of what's what's going to be the future of our workforce? Are we going to be Zoom? Are we going to be in person? Like, what are you hearing from those opportunities that you've been exposed to?
That's definitely changing. As you know, there are a lot of businesses that are looking at hybrid schedules for their employees. The technology aspect of being able to conduct business from home is something that's evolving, and all the intricacies involved with that. I think that that's part of what we don't know, as every industry is different. that will be changes that we need to prepare our students for. But definitely the world has changed as a result of COVID, and we need to, we have CTE anchor standards that provide our students with, soft skills training, with communication, technology, ethics, leadership, teamwork, all of that. But there's more now that we have to be aware of. And the only way, of course, that we can learn these things as we're evolving and learning about the long-term impacts of COVID is through collaboration and communication with the business industry and with our partners to listen, to hear, and for us to then adjust, connect, with the best thing that we can offer our students to adequately prepare them to meet the needs in our regions.
Yeah, I think obviously it's evolving and it depends on what your nature of your work is, but the future of the work is going to be hybrid. It's not going back to the way it was, but not everything can be, on Zoom. So, in our own shop, we have direct service programs to kids on campus. That's going to be that. Office workers, and that creates internal equity issues because some people can work from home and do their jobs just as effectively and other people have to be in front line. But we're competing against other employers that allow work from home or flex schedules or hybrid, that sort of thing, and we have to compete for those kinds of workers too. So I think it's going to be evolving, and under the headline of, it's not everything was bad. Even though our kids suffered, in distance learning and that, because I think the future of work is going to be hybrid, they learned those skills by going to class on Zoom and self-efficacy and managing their own schedules and on time. That's prep. That's job prep for the future workforce because there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be hybrid or even remote. And so kids building that self-efficacy through working on Zoom is preparing them for the workforce.
You brought up a great word, and I know that's come up in other panelists, equity. Yep. You mentioned and we all know this, that, the pandemic has definitely, brought to the surface the inequities that were already existing in our region. Yep. So what can we do, individually or with our organizations to address that equity with, young people, especially young people of color, who maybe come from, homes or families that have just, like we mentioned, hospitality. Like, you said so many people lost their jobs. Yeah. They had children, they have families, they had, a lot of them couldn't do the Zoom, and that had impacts. So, and you mentioned years to come. So what can we do to help address those inequities that were surfaced by the pandemic?
Our organization was founded to close those equity gaps, those opportunity gaps, and so it's trying to extend the school day and extend the school year, so after school and summer, and then wrap around early childhood, parent engagement, all those things. And so this governor and this administration, along with the legislature, has made record-setting investments in expanded learning. So it's after school historically in the last decade or so has funded about 15%, of the low-income students on a school campus have an allocation for the after-school program. The new vision is after school for all, and they're talking about $5 billion. This year alone, I think there's over $5 billion when you count the legacy funding with what the governor's proposed in the budget of expanded learning funding. So it's going to be a 9-hour school day with expanded learning and rigorous school day, and a 210-day year, not a 180-day year. So that creates, it's really because middle-class families have expanded learning through lessons and piano lessons and ballet and all these different things, and they have private tutors. Low-income families don't have that. Sports, are now, it's club sports. You got to pay to play. So now through partnerships with LA 84, the profits from the 1984 Olympics in LA, they're funding middle school sports programs, and many school districts, we run the middle school sports programs, bringing that out. As those things were shut down. And so bringing things like that, so those are the opportunities for kids. So it's creating those opportunities for student engagement and increased learning as part of getting at that, and then continuing to work on improving the quality of the education during the school day, which is what Ruth intended to.
And it has to be intentional. When you look at issues that we have to make kids successful, one, for example, is college attendance. We know that about 40% meet A through G, but yet we have outliers like Chafee, where 70% of the kids meet A through G because they really looked at the data The demographics across our county, 70% economically disadvantaged. So when in our county student advisory, we ask them, we want to get you to graduate, and those numbers have gone up, but what's your plan the day after graduation? And what they tell us is that, well, we don't really know what options there are. We don't know who to talk to, what the timelines are, how to fill out the information. My parents don't know. And so programs like AVID, which is both in San Bernardino and Riverside County, and I have to tell you, I was in an AVID class last week in Montclair High School. A number of students socioeconomically disadvantaged, and the teacher had this display on the wall, and there was students' names on each of these jars, and then there was little round buttons on each of the students. And I said, what are those buttons for? And I walked closer. All those kids had these buttons of colleges they've already been accepted to because of the support they had from the AVID teacher. So it was remarkable, but those are the kinds of things we have to do to connect with students and know where the industries are. We've done mapping of all of our career pathways across the entire county, so we know where there's a need for engineering. If businesses in those areas can go to those high school pathways and connect through the Alliance to make sure kids get those opportunities.
I love that word, intentional. I know we have to make it a point to have that lens of equity, of inclusion, in anything that we're doing in order to really lift up our population. So that's great. We do have time for questions now from the panelists. Do we have questions in the audience? Anyone want to ask this amazing group? Are we quiet? Oh, we have a question right there. Yes. What's
the best student engagement strategy to get students into programs?
Where's Gloria? I'm on the business side of the house. Gloria, you want to answer that?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it. I think it's part of what was already said as far as meeting kids where they're at or students where they're at. So knowing for some students, they want to get back in the classroom. For some kids, they were in middle school and all of a sudden they're sophomores in high school. And what is, oh, hi. So I was speaking to meeting kids where they're at and recognizing both the emotional, the holistic child, right? So like, what are the fun things that are going to get you to stay, right? What are those activities, whether it was sports, whether it was student government, whether it was arts, that got you to stay after school, and being able to offer that again. For a lot of our kids, it's just connecting with them as kids within their peer groups, having adults that they can trust, and really for a lot of the kids, it's the social emotional, the mindfulness piece of it, right? Like they as well as we have gone through so much in the last 2 years. How are we helping them to recognize the skills that they've been able to develop, that grit, that the self-efficacy, the skills that they don't know that they developed during these last 2 years, and helping them make those connections that, hey, all of that you developed is actually going to help you academically, it's going to help you when you graduate, it's going to help you when you enter the workforce. So really it's connecting with kids and meeting them where they're at.
Kathy, may I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So powerful. What she said just made me think we can never underestimate the transformational power of investing in our youth through internship opportunities. I want to share with you that I'm a product of that. Almost 40 years ago, as a high school student in New York City, the New York City public school system, oldest of 6 children. I was a free lunch student. And I didn't speak English when my parents came to the Bronx where we started, went through the whole system, through high school, never had a counselor meet with me and encourage me to go to college or ask me, have you thought of college? What are you interested in? The last year of high school, I saw a flyer on the wall that was asking for people interested in being in a year-long internship program. And I signed up. I was able to become an intern for the CBS radio networks, and realized that that's not something I want. Then I was able to shift to being a Montessori school teacher and realized that was not something I want. And then later on realized that I liked the bigger kids and became a high school teacher and fell in love with teaching. But the skills that I learned you know, having had the opportunity to meet people like Walter Cronkite, Diane Sawyer, speak to them, get over my fears of communicating with them. I actually got to work for CBS for 2 years as a result of that internship, and they helped me pay for college. That was life-changing for me. And it was that experience that helped me to go on to college, where I struggled, but I got through, got a doctorate degree, have 20 years of superintendent experience right now, and have been able to influence the lives of so many students and promote internship opportunities for our students, because I know personally that it can be transformational and life-changing for them. So I just want to encourage everyone to invest in our youth through these opportunities, because we truly are contributing to the future.
I want to just make a comment that's a little bit tangential, but it's related to the workforce. So we do have this unusual economy. We've had this K-shaped recovery where some businesses and some part of the economy have gotten clobbered, and then others were just booming. And so we have this huge job shortage. I think there's 10 or 11 million open jobs in America. The workforce is 2 million below what it was going into the pandemic. So we've got this huge gap. But as Dale Marsden, who many of you know, is a superintendent in San Bernardino, he's now doing some work with Tomorrow's Treasure, Tomorrow's Talent, that is for the engaging with 16 to 24-year-olds to get into the workforce. And so we have 6.8 million young people looking for jobs. And so it's figuring out, which Dale's working on, and we're working on some other things on a statewide staffing collaborative, thinking outside the box to enlarge the workforce and engage folks in different ways, because there is talent there. And we can't do it the way we were doing it all pre-pandemic. I mean, we're all sitting there struggling for staff, ourselves included. And so we've got to think outside the box on some of these other strategies. I just wanted to bring to light some of those things. I think some of the solutions lie.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. And I know we're getting close to end of time. So Angela, I wanted to see if you wanted any final comments, and then maybe Ted.
Sure. Again, I just want to thank everyone for their passion and commitment to these important things, because that's what it takes for all of us to do this. The two things I would just really emphasize, just kind of a take home, is one is I just think the importance of the early aspect of education, and whether it's on the workforce exposure, it doesn't have to be obviously formal internships, because they're not old enough to do that. It could be just hearing from speakers from different careers, but getting them as exposed to these things as early as possible, and the getting paid while you're learning, the apprenticeship model. Again, when you talk about equity and you talk about these issues, the cycles of poverty, people can only have opportunities if there's not a trade-off between them paying their bills and getting a quality education. Thank you.
And I also want to thank Bank of America and everybody else was involved in putting this program on. But I have to just end with saying that we really have to make sure that we're connected to each other and leverage our expertise, because the answers for success aren't in San Diego or out in Orange County. They're really here in San Bernardino, Riverside County. If we can make sure we replicate best practices. In San Bernardino County, we bring superintendents together every month, and we share best practices. Dale shared the successes he had in San Bernardino, and superintendents in other districts then talked to his team to make sure they can replicate that best practice. Matt shared his. All the superintendents know each other. I hope all of you know that, all 33 districts. Talk to Nancy in Mount Baldy. She'll know Mary and Needles, and they'll know Matt and Chafee, and they'll know Callie and Yucaipa. But we all get together, and they really support each other as a cadre of professionals committed to every single one of our 406,000 students in San Bernardino County. So that kind of network is hugely important, connected to student engagement.
Yeah, let's definitely stay connected. And again, I want to thank all of you for being with us. I really appreciate the conversation, the dialogue, and the great insight on what's happening, because it's very positive. We just got to keep pushing forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you to our panelists. Thank you, Randy, Ruth, Ted, Angelo.